إذن الفرص، التحديات في استخدامات الذكاء الاصطناعي كثيرة جداً في عالم السينما زي ما احنا عارفين، لكن قد فكرتوا باستخدامات الذكاء الاصطناعي والميتافيرس في صناعة الأفلام وكيف بتصير؟ تخيلوا أنهم يقدرون إعادة تمثيل مشاهد لشخصيات متوفاة، شخصيات مش موجودة أو حتى من عالم ثاني. ما راح نطول عليكم، راح نترككم مع الخبراء في هالمجال عشان يحكونا عن هذا الموضوع أكثر ويلهمونا بالتأكيد. رحبوا معي بماثيو، جوينسامي، مايكل، سالمون، واللي راح يحاورهم أليكس أيمس.
Oh, we're on. I was sitting there. Hello, Riyadh. Hello.
Hello,
okay.
Hi.
Well, listen, thank you very much for being here. By way of introduction, my name is Alex Amos. I run a production company and we do short films for businesses and for governments all over the world. We do a lot of work here in Saudi Arabia. And you can tell by my hairline that I've been doing this for quite a few years now. And one of the things that always I'm seeing is, and we talk a lot about on this stage and other panels, is that story is king, content is king, but the way that we tell those stories, the technology that we use to tell those stories is constantly evolving and changing and changing. That's one of the things we're going to talk about right now is technology, predominantly looking at things like virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, and whatever that means. I don't know a lot about this, so for those of you in the audience that also don't know a lot about it, we can go on a voyage of discovery together with our two experts here, Michael and Matthieu. So that's my little monologue finished. Michael, do you want to introduce yourself and just talk about what you do and who you are?
Sure. Hi, I am Mike Salmon. So I'm a VR and AR producer. So back in 2013, I got the first developer kit of the Oculus Rift. And since then, I've been making immersive works. First at Universal Pictures, where I started an immersive entertainment team, and later now doing my own projects. And then I also work at the Red Sea Festival and the Venice Festival, helping them with the display of their VR shows.
Matthieu?
Hi everyone. I'm Mathio Gouinsamy, and I'm a XR specialist. I have 20 years. I've been 20 years in the event industry as a show and lighting designer, but gradually I evolved in the XR business. I'm the co-founder of Illusion XR Studio. I love technology, so I have been involved in XR for the last 4 years. I've been involved in Riyadh for the first ever shoot on an LED volume back in 2021. Since then, I have been always working in XR, LED, and green screen workflow in the Middle East, including Qatar, Dubai, Saudi. We were in Neom last year for the opening of the soundstage, where we integrated an XR experience for the big opening, and it was quite an amazing experience.
Yeah. Sure it was. So just for everybody in the audience and for me, let's just decipher some of the mystery around all this. And you know, we've got lots of R's here, haven't we? We've got VR, we have AR, we have XR, and we're going to also talk about virtual production. So just for the audience, just explain, if we can start with you, Michael, what the difference is between, well, what is VR, what is AR, and then maybe you can talk a bit about XR as well then, Matthieu.
Sure. So it's one of those things where we like to complicate things as much as possible by coming up with as many acronyms as
you've done very well.
Yeah. So there's essentially a scale, right? You've got the virtual world at this end, and at this end you've got the real world. And so virtual reality is where everything is virtual. You put on a headset and you see nothing that is real. Then in the middle you have mixed reality, where you have virtual objects that are in the real world and you're able to manipulate them and move them. Then you have AR, which is what you're used to seeing on your phone, which are like overlays. So when you use Snapchat and you make yourself look like a dog or whatever it is, you know, that's AR. And then you have real life, which is, you know, what we're doing now. And the graphics are brilliant.
Yeah, and XR in the film industry is I would say a new trend, a new technology. You know, everyone heard about the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Back in 2020, where the whole movie was shot on an LED volume. So the technology has evolved in a way that now you don't need to shoot on location, right? You can shoot on an LED volume in different part of the world in the same day. You can be in New York, Paris, Germany on the same day in front of the LED volume. So XR, if I define XR, it's a mixed reality with AR, VR, and virtual production. Why also virtual reality? Because some movies we are using virtual reality to shoot and understand where we want to place the camera in the virtual world. For example, The Lion King, the director chose the specific frame he wants through a VR headset. Okay, some movies, some music video was done instantly in VR with a VR headset. So XR is a new way to do broadcast TV, to do movies, to shoot movies, music video, etc. So I would say that now you have AI also, you have AR. Everything is mixed together. Even AR is used in the broadcast show. For example, you have a football field where you can, in real time, add objects on the field, you know, like a football playground, or horse race in Dubai, where you can add, I don't know, like someone running in 3D next to the horses. You can have graphs coming from the floor, etc. So XR is very useful in the this technology is very useful in the industry right now.
I want to talk later about what the difference is between XR and virtual production as well, because I think you can talk a little bit about that. But before we go into that, you know, what underpins all these different experiences that we can do is very common platforms, isn't it? It's like, you know, we're talking about these platforms like Unity and Unreal Engine. So can you just talk a little bit about that and decipher that for the audience as well, and why these are so important? Because these all come from gaming, don't they? And they're now massively influencing film production and TV production.
Yeah, exactly. You know, virtual production exists a very long time ago. The first movie shot as a virtual production was اليوم in 1930, where you just have a projection in the background, and then you have a movie playing, someone driving the car, and you see the landscape going around. So what is the difference now? Why is it so popular now? Because of gaming engine. What I mean by gaming engine, I mean real-time gaming engine. So Unity and Unreal Engine are two very common game engines. For example, Fortnite was built on Unreal Engine platform. So you have the possibility to have real-time graphic rendered in real time. This means that you can virtually have physical object, fluid, particles, anything, explosion, fire, but in real time. Before, you need to do post-production for this, right? Let's say you are shooting on a green screen. You need to go back to the studio and start doing the post-production. Now, because of the use of Unreal Engine and Unity, you can see the final render, the final output in real time with no frame drop, etc. So this is where, for me, Unreal Engine and Unity is used.
And also for you in virtual reality, isn't it? And augmented reality as well.
Yeah, so the thing about the game engines is that it opens up the possibility of doing literally anything. So, you know, if you think about 360 film, where you have lots of cameras all pointing in different directions, and you stitch the images together to make a 360 film, it's not really VR. That's a controversial opinion, but it's not really VR, right? Because in reality, if I move my head like this, I can move. I can move in space. If I do that when I'm watching a video, I'm stuck at the space where the camera was shooting, right? So the whole picture comes with me. So being able to build spaces in game engines means that you have full locomotion, which means you're able to deeply immerse someone in the experience. You can have them explore and move around. So you're taking all the things that make games exciting, that idea of it not being a passive experience, but something that you are actively participating in, and bringing that into a medium where you can use it for storytelling, you can use it for theatre, you can use it for games, you can use it for raving, in like I do with the DJing that I do.
You had to get that one in there, didn't you? Mathiew, let's come back to you. You talked about virtual production is not anything new. It's been done for years and years and years and years. And the extension of that was green screen with Superman and all that. But now, as you mentioned, Mandalorian is the poster child for this new wave of virtual production, which is, again, just for the audience's sake, because it's where you can move the camera in relation to your background and the whole perspective and everything will shift with you, which was kind of the breakthrough that came with virtual production, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So what changed before you had a 2D image? The movies like Charlie Chaplin, when you have like a car chase, for example, you have the road, they just film a road and project it to you. Everyone can do virtual production at home. You have your big TV at home, you film yourself in front of the TV, in a beautiful forest with your phone, and you already like have a background, you can play with the light and you fit into this background. So what changed with the gaming engine and the camera tracking technology? Now you have the possibility to have the parallax when you're moving the camera. So you have a normal camera, film camera, like you just attach on it a tracking system, which will know the position in XY axis, XYZ axis in the real world and in the 3D world. So the same technology is used also in broadcast. Now you will see more and more studios has a 3D broadcast studio. So everything is not real except the presenter, right? So you can have like the presenter presenting on a forest, on a mountain, volcano, even in a snow, in a hurricane or whatever, So how it works, you have the camera which is attached with a real camera in the real life with a 3D camera, and when you move the camera, it moves also in the 3D. So you will have the possibility to have the 3D depth, like you will really feel you are in a 3D environment. Yeah.
But just to pick up on that, what I think is also interesting, it's not just where we can transport audiences using this technology, but it's also enhancing that storytelling experience, because the actors themselves aren't just interacting in front of something green or whatever, that actually they can feel as though they're part of the environment. So the emotional performance of an actor in a film is really helps as well.
Yeah, exactly. One of the advantages of shooting in front of LED screen, for example, you have the reflection. LED is a light emitting diode, LED. So you have the reflection. Let's say you're wearing a glass, or you have a Iron Man, like kind of character. You have the real reflection of the world. Let's say you have an explosion, for example. You have the reflection of the explosion. To do this, to achieve this in post-production, it takes time. It takes people. It takes knowledge. But with an LED screen, you just shot it and it's ready. You have the footage ready. And this is one of the advantages. And the other advantage also, the actor, the talent, when they are performing, they know exactly the world they are performing. They don't need to think, like to try to fit in on the green screen, because green screen, you don't see anything around you. You just need to think, okay, I'm in like, I don't know, like in a war zone, for example. Okay, but LED screen, you see it. You see the explosion, you see the car moving, you see anything. So it makes things more easy also for them to act in front of the camera. And also for the director and the DOP, you have natural light. For example, if you want to move the sun in the virtual world, you can attach this sun and link it to the real light on the set. So when you're moving the sun, let's say west to east, you will have the light also will shift at the same time. Before in the movie industry, you have something called gaffer. Now in the virtual production, you have a virtual gaffer. His job is to move the sun or move the light in the 3D world. Yeah.
And the gaffer's electrician, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Michael, when we talk about virtual reality, what goes through my head is putting the headset on, and I'm in some kind of animated world, and obviously that's very, very linked to gaming. Can virtual reality be applied to filmmaking and TV production? And if so, in what way? Are there limitations? Is it a boundless future?
Yeah, so fundamentally, I think VR is a different medium to film. I think the guys at ILM X Lab had a really good way of putting it. So When they talk about making Star Wars for the screen, they talk about that being storytelling, right? You have a director and a writer that want to tell you exactly a story. However, when you move to VR and they start making Vader Immortal, their VR piece, they talk about it being story living. Because rather than you being in a space and what I like to call like having the tyranny of the director's frame, right? It ends up being a little bit more like theater, you know, where on a theater production, it's up to me to choose where I want to put my attention. You know, if I am particularly interested in the way that it's been, like the set design, for example, I can spend as much of my time looking where I want, rather than where the director tells me that I should be looking. So what that means is, for people that are creating VR content and are directing VR content, they need to approach it a little bit more like a theatrical production. They need to think about how, when they can't control how a user consumes the product, how are they going to draw someone's attention? They bring light or sound and those sorts of things. And I think VR has a profoundly different place in your brain when you consume it. So when you watch a film, it is a passive experience. It's other people's experiences on a screen far away from you. And so you remember it as a passive experience. You remember it as something that you saw other people do on a screen. But when you do VR, VR is something that you live and experience and breathe. So when you remember something that happens in VR, you remember it even if you're not being spoken to directly by a character, you still remember it as something that is happening to you. You remember it in a memory in the same way that I'm going to remember being on this stage with you guys today.
And also, going back to what you said earlier on, is part of the filmmakers' should we say talents is to make sure that your attention in VR is pointed in a certain direction, because you have all around you to look, don't you, as well?
Absolutely, and the thing is to embrace that, you know, and to understand that you cannot control exactly where someone wants to look. Some people, when they come into a beautiful environment, will want to look around. You need to embrace that. But then you need to work out these things, and this is also how games work, right? There are so many things. It's not just the technology of games with the game engines. It's also lots of the ways that games are created, and how you draw someone's attention to the right piece, to the right door to go through, the right how to go onto the next level. There are lots of these things that game producers use as their storytelling mechanisms that we use in VR, even if we're doing storytelling rather than gaming.
Let me put one other question to you. You know, you talk about watching a screen and a story on a screen being a very passive experience, but also it's a collective experience. We do it in theatres, we do it with other people, we gauge their reactions, we laugh at the same things, we cry at the same things, same in the theatre. Whereas VR, it's kind of a singular experience, isn't it really? So do you think that's any influence or changes?
Well, so it depends what VR you're doing, right?
Okay.
So if you're consuming a piece that someone has created for a standard platform like the Oculus Store, the Steam Store, then yes, then that is a solitary experience. But where I spend most of my time is in like social VR platforms like VR Chat, which are inherently social, and I'm sure we're going to talk about the metaverse in a moment. But
I'll write the question down now.
but that is like, those are inherently social platforms, and more people are creating content specifically for these shared platforms.
Thank you. That's a great answer. And back to you, Matthieu. You know, if you think about mixed reality, virtual production. For big Hollywood movie makers, Mandalorian, of course, it's well within reach. But for some smaller filmmakers, some more indie filmmakers who want to use that technology to enhance that health, costs a barrier, isn't it? Or is there other opportunities?
Yes, the technology is still very expensive.
Yeah.
The LED screen you will use for a virtual production workflow is not the same that you will see, for example, in a shopping mall, because we all took a phone and tried to shoot, for example, I don't know, a car, you know, the headlight now is in LED, you will see flickering, right? Why? Because the frame rate of the LED, we don't see it with our eyes, but the camera is seeing it. So this is one of the problematic you will find with normal LED screen. So, but the XR-ready LED screen is very expensive, definitely. So this is a barrier for small production who want to go into virtual production, definitely. But I would say that technology, of course, is evolving and the cost will go down for sure. Because, for example, the camera tracking is one part of the workflow, right? You need a good camera tracking. You have different type of camera tracking. Optical, for example, that sees some points in the cloud, you know. For example, if you're doing broadcast, you will have a system like NCAM or TrackMan who will create virtual point to see how to track the camera, and then you can put objects in AR, augmented reality, in front of the camera, right? But technology definitely will go down. I mean, the price will go down, and more small production can go into it, for sure, yes. I don't think it's only for big production. And also, I would say that green screen workflow in virtual production is something. More and more music video is done on a green screen in real time. You don't need to do post-production, and it works. And I would say the technology is here, but it's a teamwork. Your DOP, your director, your cameraman, everything should work together to have a nice output. Because the technology, I have worked on some shots from music video where the output was not what was expected, you know, because this is a new workflow. You know, as a director, you don't want to use the same workflow when you write your storyboard, because it's totally different. You cannot have, for example, a crash zoom on the screen. You cannot zoom on the LED because you will see pixel, you know. You cannot make a very hard pan, you know, a whip pan, for example, because the refresh rate of the screen will not follow the camera. So this also people need to keep in mind when you're shooting and they're learning and going into virtual production. The way you will write your storyboard is totally different, for sure.
Very good. So we've talked about lots of all the other R's, but we haven't talked about augmented reality yet. Michael, do you want to talk a bit about, can augmented reality play a role in, let's say, TV production, for example?
So again, I think, like, you know, my background's definitely not TV. You know, my background is all very much immersive content first. But I think the thing about AR is that it is a technology that is going to become completely ubiquitous. And so I think, you know, we've got Apple looking at releasing AR glasses. Meta are also looking at releasing AR glasses. We know that Apple do not go into any sort of market unless they're looking at something which is going to be entirely ubiquitous. So at the moment, you know, AR is something you do on your phone. And there's some really incredible things that you can do with that. In fact, we're in the process, like I run a company called Glitch AR, and we are creating narrative works and art installations using a phone-based AR. But the reason why we're into that now is because we are learning all the things that we need to learn, so that when these headsets come along, and when we have things that are a glasses form factor, the ubiquity of that means that they're going to be a wonderful place for being able to change people's reality, no matter where they are in the world, and therefore be fantastic platforms for storytelling in ways that we haven't even imagined yet.
We talk about immersive, you know, VR and being immersed in these worlds. The next natural step, you know, is, as you mentioned earlier on, is the metaverse. So can you give us an insight into what's coming our way and link that to film production as well in any way?
Yeah, so I think the easy way to think about the metaverse is that it is essentially a 3D internet that you can run around in. Right? So instead of having web pages, it's virtual worlds, and all the virtual worlds are linked. So we talk a lot about the metaverse, like we talk about the internet, like we don't have lots of internets. But at the moment, the metaverse-like platforms, like Roblox, like Fortnite, like Minecraft, and like VR Chat, which is the one that I live in, those platforms they're not connected, but what they do is they democratize these sorts of platforms. So what happens is, I think these metaverse platforms are doing to VR and doing to content creation in 3D what YouTube did to film and TV, because anyone can download Unity, watch an annoyingly young kid on YouTube show you how to make a VR chat world. My 8-year-old has done it. We made a world, we uploaded it, and now that is available for anyone to see who has VR chat installed. So what that means now is that the idea of what content is going to be is completely blown open. It's like the punk rock of VR production, because now no longer are you having to have like 20-minute pieces that cost £2 million to make and created by a team of experts. You can have like an 8-year-old and his dad, noodling about in my loft area and create content. And there's an absolute explosion of creativity happening because of that. And so there are pieces of like storytelling in those spaces where it's immersive theater and it's all live, and you go into a space and there are real people that are real actors, and you go through a storytelling experience that is like doing a punch-drunk theater show. And next to that, you have people that are teaching people sign language, and next to that, you have people teaching languages, and next to that, you have VR raves, and next to the possibilities are entirely endless. The only issues that you have is time, processing power, and bandwidth, really.
Amazing, thank you. I think our time's almost up, but I want to just come back to you, Mathiew, for one final thing. We've got an audience here of, filmmakers, aspiring filmmakers, people very eager to learn more. What is it about mixed reality and virtual production that you yourself find so exciting, so passionate? And let's transfer some of this passion to some potential filmmakers out there.
Yeah, I love technology, right? What attracts me in virtual production is every time you learn new things, you learn new tools, new plugin, you can create your own tools, through Unreal Engine. For example, I had a broadcast show in Dubai where we created our own plugins to trigger live through an application on iPhone. Anywhere in the world, like you can play in the broadcast show, and then you have balloons falling down in AR. You can kick it with your, with your foot, etc. The thing is, why I'm so passionate with XR is the sky is the limit, right? You can create anything. You can create anything. The technology is here. You can create the world you want, You were talking about the metaverse. I like the definition of Brendan Fraser for the metaverse. So he won the Academy Award for Best Actor for the movie The Whale, right? And his first word when he was on the stage was, "Is it the metaverse?" So you can be anyone you want, And me, I found that XR, you can create your own world. You can create your own. Let's say, for example, a music video. You're a young music producer, director. You want to do a music video. The imagination can go very far. For example, you can have things fluid, particles, explosion, and everything very easily on the screen happening in front of you. You don't need like a very high budget to go and find the specialist to do this. My advice for people going into this industry is you need to be passionate in it, hard learn, okay, and yeah, you will succeed for sure.
Yeah, no.
I know we're going to get kicked off in a second.
We'll keep going.
One thing very quickly, which is, it's also really important that you guys get involved, because we don't want these platforms to be monocultures. If we don't have people from all over the world making their own content, representing their own art styles, their own cultures, then all that's going to happen is everything will look like Mark Zuckerberg's back garden, and that's not what we want. The idea of these platforms is to open people up to new cultures and new things. So it's very important that people from all cultures, races, religions, whatever, get involved and show off what's fantastic about their worlds.
Fantastic. And is there any last final messages you want to leave the audience with in terms of this?
We have an XR experience happening.
Yeah, exactly. There's the XR experience in the main hall. You have to go and see it.
So you're welcome to come to have a live experience of the Excel. Yeah.
We can stroke those deers, can't we, you see?
Yeah.
Good, okay. I think that's our time's
Thank
up now,
you.
really.
Thank
Great.
you all.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much indeed.